Good morning, everybody. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction for Seaman Country, Gravity of the Game, coming at you from my car. I know the shifter's in the way there, but it's the only spot I could kind of keep my phone there, and I'm not going to look at the comments while I'm driving, so it's all right. This is if you watch my live feed yesterday, which was one of my in terms of live, I had I think my second best audience live yet for my Happy Frogs Nebula Awards nomination, which is awesome. It means people are tuning in for this sort of thing, which is a big deal. That's how you start to see the cultural change happen. We're gonna slowly start to see a change. None of this stuff's going to happen overnight. I don't expect even one of my recommendations to get nominated from yesterday. But if one hits, if two hits, if five hit, I mean, who knows? If any of those, if anybody pays attention and actually goes, okay, these are pretty good choices, it's a win. Even if people just look at the books and go, okay, I'm going to check these out and read these books, that's the intention of book selling at the end of the day, is to get that done. And I want to promote fiction that I like, because lifting that up seems like a good thing. Now, I got a couple. If you've seen, reactions are starting to come in from the sort of leftist SJW group who was they want to pan my choices pretty hard. Just naturally. Naturally, there's the group instinct to come after me and go, "Ugh, this is awful puppy, sad puppy, rabid puppy, blah 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 blah," right? So, I intentionally made a lot of my choices to be, I would say I think I only nominated out of the sort of puppy group. I think I nominated a John C. Wright story, and a Jaji Lamplighter story, and a Don Witzke story. I guess Arlen Andrews counts as that too. So I think like only 4 out of my, 30, 40 choices were maybe puppy choices, for what they would say. But, so they couldn't do that. So immediately the reactions coming in the comments where the fake news sites are posting this, and they're saying, I kind of agree with John's choices, which is an important thing. And it's actually something I definitely intended on doing. I'm very into the Scott Adams persuasion model, which you guys, if you follow me, you probably follow Scott Adams. And his persuasion model, he's been kind of teaching people how it works within the realm of politics. But I've been taking and applying a lot of those principles to just basic marketing for selling books and producing content online. And it offends a lot of people, but the people who are offended are it's very interesting. It's never readers who are offended. It's never people who are going to be actually consuming content that I want to create. It's people who are in positions of authority within the field, who are the ones who are supposed to be, you're supposed to listen to dictate what is good book, what is bad book. You're supposed to be listening to them and not me. And those are the people who are offended with what I'm doing. So I got a message last night, a concern message. These things tend to happen. Hey, everybody. All right, I'm parked now. I got a concern message last night about, and sorry, I'm going to the gym, so I'm all ratty this morning, but that's all right. You've seen me ratty before. You don't care. I got a concern message saying, well, you're going to lose credibility with doing stuff like this. And I'm like, okay, with who? So, and I don't want to rat on the person messaging me, because it was a legitimate, thought. There's still a lot of people who think self-promotion is a bad thing, right? There's still a lot of people. We've been conditioned to be told that we're not allowed to promote ourselves, right? And the bottom line is, this is the Wild West in the internet. This is the Wild West. It's everything's open, everything, but the trick is, it's very hard to get discovered on the internet, because there's 80 bajillion people competing for time and attention for the comments. And no matter what, just any person on social media is competing for attention. So anybody who posts to Twitter, period, is competing for somebody's attention. And so you are as if you're trying to sell something. In addition to that, you are by nature competing against everybody in the world for their time slot. And it's different than any time in history. Before this, because the barrier of entry was so high for publishing or for doing video content or this or that, you did have an ability to have gatekeepers control a certain amount of the content. So what I've got is self-promotion, right? So I'm very good at this, and I get criticized over this a lot, which is you're just using this to try to get yourself attention and sell books. You're just using this. And it tries to make a cynical attitude out of this whole thing. Well, my intention is to sell books. I've never lied or told anybody my intention is anything other than to sell books. So why are you offended by that? And it's very interesting. And the people who get most offended by that are, as I said, the gatekeepers in the industry, the people who are supposed to be the ones dictating the content, right? And yes, it works. You've been watching my Periscopes and probably implementing some of my stuff, and you self-promote, and the sales are working. Yakov has a new book out. His first book is A Greater Duty, and I'll just mention it on my Periscopes because why not? You'll probably buy it. So the self-promoting is a good thing. But somebody said, well, so in the context of the Happy Frogs thing here, the people who are offended are like, well, you put your own books on there, and I'm like, well, of course I put my own books on there. Why would I waste my time with this if I wasn't putting my own books on there? The entire intention of this is to get people to pay attention to my books. like you think I'm going to spend hours like going through stories and figuring out stories are without putting my books on there? You're crazy. And immediately I got, well, you're going to lose respectability for that. But let's look at this. I started the Happy Frogs with the Dragon Awards last year, right? And I just posted up a recommendation list on the internet, and it had my book on there at the time, and my eligible book, and it had a bunch of people I liked their books also on it, right? Every single one of my choices made it to the Dragon Award ballot, right? Do you think any of those choices would have been on the Dragon Award ballot if I had not made that slate and done that? No. They probably wouldn't have. People wouldn't have paid attention to it. And it's not that the quality of these works are any less than what would have been nominated in its place. It's just that, again, we're in an age where it's what you hear of, correct? So I made people hear of these books, and therefore it happened. So it worked, and all of these things got nominated. They didn't win, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's better than it was before, right? So that's what I attempted to do with that, and I attempted to get my own book nominated because I wanted the credential on my resume to have a award-nominated book. It worked, and it's there. People liked it, so it was fine. But I did this before, and when I did this before, did it lose me credibility? No. It did quite the opposite. So for any normie who's tuning in, remember, you got to remember that the internet and the people who like hyper focus on this, you're talking like 1,000, 2,000 people. Like that's it. When you're trying to get sales at my levels, I'm only selling 2,000 to 4,000 books. So I would assume half of my audience are people that like really pay attention, and then half are people who just randomly tune in. People who just randomly tune in and click on my Amazon link and see Dragon Award nominated, they go, oh, so people like this. This seems kind of interesting, and they click, right? That's the intention there. That's it. That's all that the award baits do. That's the only thing all of this does. It's just a strict popularity contest among a certain monkey group. And you got to look at everything as a monkey group, right? So there's the Dragon Award nominating monkey group. There's the Hugo Award nominating monkey group. There's the SIFWA monkey group, and they're all a tribe, right? So, and they've got their troops, and they've got their the reddest butt baboon in charge of things. Each one of them, and the reddest butt baboon is leading the charge and getting more people to follow them than the others, and most people defer to that red butt baboon, right? It's just simple nature, and I hate comparing humans to animals, but it's the way nature works. So, so I took advantage of that for the Dragon Awards. Of course I did. Doesn't mean I don't think my book's great. I think my book's fantastic. And I think everybody should read it. And I think all the other books I nominated are fantastic, and everybody should read it. There are people actually reading. That is. I don't doubt that at all. But marketing is about drawing attention to certain content, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do. So I nominated myself and for the Dragon Award, and a lot of other people did too. I mean, there were 90-something thousand votes cast, they said, for the nominations. So what it did was draw big attention to it. My sales of my books since the Dragon Award time have doubled as what they were before that. So I don't know. I can't say this specific marketing tactic work. Marketing is not about specifics ever, but the accumulation worked, right? So on Respectability, in that time, I got SIFWA basically to condemn me. I got Tor Books basically boycotting me. I've got all the professional magazines for sure have blackballed me. So I'm definitely not respectable at all, and I haven't been since that time. So if my respectability is 0, I can't go to negative. It's not possible. It doesn't matter. So those people aren't going to buy my books anyway. Maybe a couple will check them out. But what you're seeing is actually psychologically, it's done the opposite. When MAGA 2020 came out, I've got like a set of haters. Like, I kind of monitor them and I see what they're doing. When MAGA 2020 came out it had to have started. I didn't have a large social media following. I had 200 followers on Twitter this time last year. I've grown the following that fast, and it's just because I've been relentless. So but I don't think so. I think you can grow. I think you can grow the following, and it'll help. But in terms of respectability, even among the hater crowd, my MAGA 2020 came out and I had a story in it, and everybody's ready to bash it because they all wanted to hate on Trump and therefore hate anybody associated, right? And so the haters started commenting that my story was actually pretty good. And what happened was, like, they're like, it was actually kind of funny, and I kind of liked it. And I don't want to say anything positive about John, but so I'm getting to that point that because, look, I'm award nominated, even to the people who hate me, they psychologically see that there's enough people reading me that there maybe is some merit to what I'm doing, right? And that's how this works. So the award slate nomination, remember, doing an award slate by itself is a no-no. Respectable people don't do that. There's no respectable award slate. People should find these awards naturally and naturally know which ones are the best ones, which are the ones, Tor.com and BarnesandNoble.com will talk about the proper books, and you'll just naturally know which ones. So when they say natural, they mean there's a couple websites that tell you which books to read, and therefore they use those. So I've circumvented that by making my own website that says something else, right? And so it makes the people who own those websites mad. That's all this does. And yes, next year's going to get very interesting. So I didn't lose any respectability last time when I nominated myself. So this time, when they said, well, you're going to lose respectability when you nominate yourself for the Nebula Award. Oh my gosh. This is a more important award. It's not. The Dragon Awards are far more important because, like I said, 90,000, whatever, some odd thousand votes were cast in that. SIFWA, I don't even know what SIFWA's membership is. I can't imagine it's more than a few thousand. And then how many people actually pay attention and vote in that? 1,000. How many people nominate? Half that. You've got no people paying attention here. So it's not people who read. It's not people who do anything. This Nebula Award is not more respectable or means anything more than the Dragon Award. It's just a bunch of insiders playing a little game with each other. It's like the Oscars, right? So did that here. I'm not going to lose any respectability. In fact, if one of my works gets nominated, I will gain respectability, and it'll be big to watch this. So that's the hopes. I really hope I can get Gravity of the Game especially nominated. The Gravity of the Game just on a science fiction level is I set this up. Yeah, it's true for the Dragon, right? Everybody votes for the Dragon. Why not? We can. On a science fiction level, I set it up for like a Heinleinian hard science fiction story that is like, it's a respectable story, right? So, and I did this on purpose because there's you can tell what's a respectable story and what's not a respectable story, right? Military science fiction is not respectable. Steampunk's not respectable, right? So I've been in non-respectable realm, but I wanted to do a little thing that was, it's not that I can't write a hard science fiction story. It's that I don't want to because people don't actually read hard science fiction stories. That's the secret here, right? So I wrote, and thank you for voting in the Dragon. So I wrote this respectable science fiction story on purpose because people are going to see this and they're going to go, I guess John's competent. So it's about establishing levels of competency while establishing levels of marketing credibility. And that's how this works. So the respectability, I'm always going to have the haters and detractors who are always going to be people in the elitist sort of echelons of these groups, but they don't matter. That's the beauty of it. None of it matters. Nobody sees it. A random normie on the street isn't even going to know that the happyfrogs.org is run by me. We're talking such a smidgen handful of people who don't matter and don't impact my business whatsoever that there is no respectability lost. And so that's the message here. Don't care about respectability among people who are your competitors. That is the big deal here. And this goes back to the C.B. Cebulski thing that's going on too in comics. They're trying to trash him. If you look at where that story originated, with trashing him over having a weeaboo pen name, the story originated with one of the head guys at Image Comics. So somebody at Image Comics saw an opening to try to blast their competitor, right? And they did that on purpose. And that's all this is. All the sniping on the internet is all about that. All the, quote, respectability that goes on and all that sort of thing is all about posturing for themselves, no matter what it is. And that's okay. So I'm openly posturing for myself, right? Versus they're it's passive aggressive versus, it's the same sort of gamma versus alpha mentality, right? So I'm openly and actively advocating for myself. Other people are sniping in attempts to advocate for themselves. And when they do that, they do it in a passive aggressive manner, which comes off kind of ugly to a lot of people. And so it doesn't work. Passive aggressive works with a very small fraction of people. And so that's really on a global level, the sort of marketing lesson to learn here. It's fun. So, I mean, I don't fashion myself as like the best expert at this or anything like that, but I do have a good business degree from a good school, and I've been working in a field that requires marketing for a long time. So I kind of got basics. But I'm learning this B2C, which is business to consumer, model, as I go along here. So I'm hoping to communicate some of this to you. The specifics, again, don't matter. Remember, specifics don't matter in marketing. The aggregate is what matters in marketing. So you're going to find what works. You're going to find what doesn't. It's going to be different for every person, by the way. Each situation's different. But there's going to be 80% that works, something that works 80% of the time, something that works 20% of the time. You want to focus your efforts on what works for you 80% of the time and kind of avoid the 20% of the time stuff, and it'll work. And this is, if you're not promoting you can promote what you love in the same way. Like, I've been promoting Matt Kint heavily, right? He's a writer for comics. And I'm doing a little bit, once a week I mention this guy, and what's happening is the Exo Manowar sales are trickling and his mind management sales are trickling. I love his work, so I want to promote him. So you can do that too on that level. Remember, everybody who interacts on social media has this sort of power, because people see based on our networks, somebody retweets it, that means a whole other network resees. The Pareto principle. I don't know what the Pareto principle is, but I'm bad with remembering terms and long-term memory sort of things. So that's my failing. But the practical is what matters. So hopefully that helps. Respectability does not matter whatsoever. Don't worry about anybody who's concerned about your respectability, and don't stop what you're doing. Don't ever apologize for before giving yourself a leg up. So hopefully that was good for you guys. I'll be broadcasting later tonight because I'm going to the Taylor Swift concert. Exactly. And I'm probably going to talk about the Taylor Swift concert on the way, and I'll probably broadcast a song or two from the concert itself, because Taylor Swift is the prime example of who I'm trying to be in science fiction. And I will be the Taylor Swift of science fiction. You watch. I'll see you guys soon.